Hi, I'm Liza, and today we'll take a look at how to use PHP for web scraping. PHP is a scripting language most widely used in web development. One of the key advantages of PHP is its exceptional documentation, making troubleshooting issues much more straightforward. It also offers powerful library support, making it a very flexible language applicable to various needs. For example, it can easily be applied to web scraping with the help of such libraries as Goutte, which we'll take a look at later in this video. Beyond its technical characteristics, PHP is a good option for those who already know it and want to gather public web data with a familiar language. Moreover, because it's an open-source tool, anyone can use it regardless of budget. In this tutorial, you'll learn things like setting up for web scraping with PHP, making HTTP requests, locating HTML elements via CSS selectors, handling pagination, and extracting results into a usable CSV file. Let's dive in! To start off, let's make sure that we have both PHP and Composer installed. For Windows, you can download PHP by visiting the Downloads page that I've included in the video description. Alternatively, you can use the Chocolatey Package Manager, which you'll also be using throughout this tutorial. With Chocolatey, run choco install PHP in your terminal and wait for it to load. Then select A. Next, you'll need to install Composer, a dependency manager for PHP that will help install and manage the required packages. I've included a download link for Composer in the video description, where you'll also find all the relevant instructions. With Chocolatey, the installation is easier. Just type choco install Composer in your terminal and select A when prompted. Now, close and reopen the command so that the changes in the path variable are refreshed. Alternatively, you can type in refresh and v. You'll notice that the version of the packages is mentioned in the terminal during installation. However, just in case you need to verify it, simply enter PHP version for PHP and Composer version for Composer. We're all done with setting up, so let's check out the website we'll be scraping. For this tutorial, we'll use bookstoscrape.com. This website is a dummy bookstore for practicing web scraping. Let's take a look. When viewing a website in a browser, the browser sends an HTTP GET request to the web server as the first step. We can do the same with PHP using the built-in function fileGetContents. This function can take a file path or a URL and return the contents as a string. Create a new file and save it as native.php. Then, open this file in your code editor of choice. I'm using Visual Studio Code. Enter the following lines of code. Then, enter php native.php in your terminal. Upon executing this command, the entire HTML of the web page will be printed. You might notice that it's quite difficult to locate and extract specific information within the HTML. This is where libraries become crucial. There is a wide selection of libraries available for web scraping with PHP. In this video, we'll use Goutte, which is an accessible, well-documented, and continuously updated PHP library. Note that Goutte can handle most static websites, but for a dynamic website, you would need to use Symfony Panther, a PHP library which can execute JavaScript code. To install Goutte, enter the following in your terminal. Then, type in Composer install. These commands will create the composer.json, add the entry to Goutte, and download and install the required files. It'll also create the composer.log file. The Composer install command will download all the dependencies. We can now move on to sending HTTP requests with Goutte. The most important class for PHP web scraping using Goutte is the client, which acts like a browser. The first step is to create an object of this class. Let's do that. This object can be used to send HTTP requests, and the method to do that is conveniently called request. It takes two parameters, the HTTP method and the target URL, and returns an instance of the DOM crawler object. This will send the GET request to the HTML page. To print the entire HTML of the web page, we can call the HTML method. Save this new PHP file as books.php and run it from your terminal. This will print the entire HTML. Now we need a way to locate specific elements for the web page. Goutte uses the Symfony component CSS Selector. It facilitates the use of a CSS selector in locating HTML elements. The CSS selector can be supplied to the filter method. For example, to print the title of the web page, enter the following to the books.php file that we're working with. Note that title is the CSS selector that selects the title node from the HTML. Keep in mind that in this particular case, text returns a text contained in the HTML element. In the earlier example, we used HTML to return the entire HTML of the selected element. If you prefer to work with XPath, use the filter XPath method instead. If you run this file with phpbooks.php, you will see that the title of the page is scraped. Now, let's move on to extracting the book titles and prices. Before we write the web scraping code, we need to analyze the HTML of our web page. To do that, open books2scrape.com in Chrome, right-click on a book and select Inspect. When you inspect the HTML of the target web page, we can see that each book is contained in an article tag, which has a product pod class. Here, the CSS selector would be product pod. In each article tag, the complete book title is located in the thumbnail image as an alt attribute value. The CSS selector for the book title would be image container. Finally, the CSS selector for the book price would be price color. To get all the titles and prices from this page, first we need to locate the container and then run the each loop. In this loop, an anonymous function will extract and print the title along with the price. So, let's start our code with function as follows. Then, add the request. Then the filter with appropriate selectors, the each loop and the echo statement. That's how the code should look so far. By now, the PHP Web Scraper is performing data extraction from only a single URL. But in real-life web scraping scenarios, you would want to scrape data from multiple web pages. In this particular site, the pagination is controlled by a next link button. The CSS selector for the next link is .next greater than a. So let's add all this to the function scrape page that we've created earlier. This code uses the CSS selector to locate the next button and to extract the value of the href attribute, returning the relative URL of the subsequent page. On the last page, this line of code will raise the invalid argument exception. If the next page is found, the function will return its URL. Otherwise, it will return null. From now on, we'll be initiating each web scraping cycle with a different URL. This will make the conversion from a relative URL to an absolute one easier. Lastly, use a while loop to call this function. Run this file as PHP books and you will see all the book titles and book prices getting scraped. The final step of the web scraping PHP process is to export the data to a storage. PHP's built-in fput.csv function can be used to export the data to a CSV file. First, open the CSV file in write or append mode and store the file handle in a variable. After the while loop, close the file by calling fclose. Next, send the variable to the scrape page function. Then, call the fput.csv function for each book to write the title and price in one row. Run PHP books from the terminal. This will create a books CSV file with 1000 rows of all the data. I hope you found this PHP web scraping video interesting and that it gave you a good grasp of how to gather data using it. If you'd like to see more content like this, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. In case you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment below.